Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to How to Get Over Him, 6 Keys to Liberate Yourself from Love Obsession. In this webinar, we're going to be going over a lot of really interesting mind-body science, not only to help you if you find yourself obsessing or fixating on someone, but also as a way of really helping you understand the way that women love and some of the biological and psychological processes that happen for women when they have attraction and when they have active sexuality as well. So there's going to be a lot of content. I hope you're prepared for a super deep dive into this. And excuse me, I want to keep welcoming everybody to the webinar. I know some people will be logging on as we continue. So I am so excited to share this information with you because I find that it is so impactful for women. I've been working with women for a really long time in lots of different settings, and what I'm going to share with you today is absolutely the most powerful and most potent information that's going to upgrade and inspire, enliven, and enlighten your sex and love life. So as you're watching this, I really believe that sisterhood is so important for women's experience here. And so I just want you to kind of feel and tune into all of the other women that are watching this right now. And I do believe that when we gather, we create a field or a web of connection and connectivity, and that we can actually feel and sense each other. So right now, I'm just feeling and sensing all of the women who are tuned into this live, and also the women who will be watching this in a replay. I do believe we impact each other energetically. And I also want to welcome you to my living room. This is where I live. This is my living room / dance floor. There's a lot of dancing and moving and good things that happen in this space. So welcome, welcome. Okay, so my primary intention for offering this webinar to you is that it provides you with some relief from whatever patterns or strategies aren't working for you, and that you walk away from this experience being changed. I think one cannot learn this information and not have it change their life. And so I know it's going to be really powerful for you. Most of this presentation is actually going to be a slide presentation. I've presented some great information for you. I'm going to duck in and out here and there just to make contact and say hello and check in with you. But I'll ask, just to begin with, like, you don't have to take notes yet. I just want to get everybody in their bodies, because women learn best when we're embodied and when we're experiential. So I'm going to begin the slideshow. And as we're going, I invite you to jot down any questions that you have. Here's the deal with the chat. I love it when people chat, and I love to take your comments and your questions, but because there is a delay on this platform that I'm using, I simply can't get to your questions or your comments right away. So, but I would love to circle back with you and support you in deepening this work. So please keep kind of like a running notation of your unanswered questions. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start the slide presentation for you now. Okay, here we go. So liberate yourself from love obsession, 6 keys to claim your power. So many women tell me that they feel confused and overwhelmed by the intensity of their feelings when it comes to sex and love. So hopefully this education will help to demystify some things for you. So let's drop in. I invite you to place a hand on your heart and perhaps a hand on your belly. And just feel this breath that is your intelligence running through you. And knowing that your body knows exactly how to breathe you. We just simply give our attention to that breath. And I invite you to sense the ancestral lineage of the women who created you. Your mother, just feel her in your cells, in your skin, in your heart. And your grandmothers on both sides. Feel how their DNA is very much alive inside of you as well. And your great-grandmothers, how they have passed down to you their gifts, their lineage, their womanhood. And their grandmothers, and all the mothers who came before you. Sensing how you are the divine culmination of all the mothers. And then all the women around the world, that together we form a web of love and of shared experience as sisters. Let's take a breath and know that it feels so good just knowing that we're all here together and we're all connected. So opening your eyes and coming back, let's get started. This seminar will last for about 75 minutes. And we're going to start with defining some basic terms so that you build a library of knowledge. And then I'm going to go into the 6 keys to reclaiming your power. I will also be telling you a little bit about a program I have that I think you're really going to like, and I'll be giving you a really beautiful offer. One of my favorite quotes, I refuse to live in the ordinary world as an ordinary woman, to enter ordinary relationships. I want ecstasy. When I read this, I get a huge yes in my body. I know that this is exactly what I want for my life. And I know this is true for pretty much every woman I know. We want the extraordinary, and we know that on some level, the paradigm that excuse me, we're living in today isn't working. We're living in patriarchy, and the tides are definitely turning. Women are rising in power. But I also believe that in order for us to fully empower, not just in our career or our education or our finances or in our politics, that we also need to empower in our sex and in our love. Women are built for love. We're built for ecstasy, and we're built for pleasure. And when these things are deprived of us or they're not honored within our culture, we suffer. So this is my mission, really, is to bring the power back to our sex and our love life. And if you resonate at all with this message you're reading by Anais Nin, then you are definitely in the right place. So I want you to just tune into yourself and get clear about, why did you come to this? And what exactly are you seeking? What are you seeking in life, in your sex life, in your love life? And what are you hoping to get from this presentation? I'll tell you what I see a lot. And maybe you feel frustrated because you want partnership, but you keep dating men who aren't available to it. And maybe to fill the hunger, you have friends with benefits or lovers, but it's junk food sex and it leaves you feeling icky. Maybe you settle for partners that you're not passionate about because they offer you security. Maybe you exhaust yourself trying to fix or change men so that they meet you emotionally and spiritually. I've spent a lot of time and energy doing this. It's never really been successful. Maybe you harbor strong feelings for someone, but he won't commit, So you try to control your emotions, maybe even to suppress your emotions and the intensity of your affection for him. If any of this is true for you, you are not alone, my dear. Let me introduce myself. My name is Eva Clay. I am a licensed psychotherapist. I'm also a sexuality expert and a women's rights activist. I've been in practice for over 20 years serving women, and I've helped women in lots of different settings from free clinics, working with women's reproductive health, working with women and HIV. I've worked with single moms. I've also most recently worked in women's battered women's shelters, running a battered women's clinic. I've also worked extensively with trauma survivors, and I am a trauma expert. And now my passion is to serve women around the world through online education. I'm in love with this platform because I can reach so many women with it. My mission is to illuminate the connection between our mind, our bodies, and our spirits so that women are free to live in love from a deep, divine, and authentic feminine essence. I'm often asked to speak to large audiences about women's sexuality, and I love to do this. And I'm often asked to teach in the media as well. This way, I feel like I can reach more women with my message of empowerment. But probably the most compelling thing that I have to offer you is my personal experience. This picture was taken about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm guessing many of you have, like me, had the experience of a lot of heartbreak and struggle when it comes to love. Definitely, I'm no exception. I have a lifelong pattern of obsessing on men. When I was in high school, I was so obsessed with Billy Idol, I almost got a tattoo of him. I am so glad that I didn't do that. But for me, it was mostly men that I didn't know or men that weren't available to me. And it wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I figured out what was driving it. And I'm going to share that juicy insight with you later. When I was 30, I met my soulmate and we got married. I had a loving and honestly really amazing marriage up until it wasn't. And we hit the rocks about 10 years later. And I went through an absolutely cataclysmic divorce just as I was turning 40. And I was suddenly thrust into the world of dating. And it felt kind of like I was burst out of a time capsule, like sort of like I was Austin Powers, the movie character who had been thawed from the past, because I had to relearn dating culture. So much had changed in just the 10 years that I had been married. And I suffered a lot of heartbreak. And once again, I found this pattern coming back about, obsessing on my love interests. And for a few years, it was so painful that I suppressed my needs for intimacy and totally absorbed myself into work. You might even say that I became a workaholic. And I wonder if any of you can relate to that. In this particular picture, I was at a yoga festival, and I remember the moment my girlfriend took it. I was literally praying for relief from a broken heart. I was having an open relationship at that time, and I knew that he would be there, my lover, and I knew that he would probably be meeting other women. And I was pretending to be okay with that, but inside I was hurting because deep down, I knew that that was not my truth. And this is not to knock open relationships at all. I know many people who do it beautifully, but at this phase of my evolution, I didn't have the self-mastery to navigate it in a way that was really honoring to myself. Not long after this picture was taken, I was so miserable and heartbroken that I knew there had to be a different way of doing dating, but I didn't know what that was. So I went into long-term celibacy for about a year, and I totally devoted myself to the study and practice of Tantra. I also dove into other relational studies as a way to rewire my attractions. And I educated myself thoroughly in the science of how women love. And much of that is what I'm going to share with you today. Flash forward 5 years, and here I am at another yoga festival. This time, I had taken a month off of work and I went to Bali. And this is after I found the tools that I needed in order to date and love in a way that honored myself. Life got fun, and sex became a soulful practice. I eventually quit my job running the battered women's clinic, and I decided to follow my passion of serving women on my own terms. Shortly after this, I met my current beloved, and I am now in a happy, loving, committed partnership. And really, honestly, it is the best relationship of my life. So, everything I teach you, I have used myself to revolutionize my sex and love life. I changed because I was in so much pain and I felt so far away from love. I still use all these practices, and if I did it, you can do it too. I truly believe this, that new beginnings are sometimes disguised as painful endings. And sometimes those painful endings are in relationships, and sometimes there's a painful ending to a particular chapter in our lives. And I know I had a very painful ending of both. And I want to tell you that the beginning that sprouted at the end of that painful ending is so much more beautiful than I could have ever even imagined in the beginning. So if you are in some area of a painful ending in your life, either with a relationship or with a chapter or with a pattern, I just want to encourage you that there's something beautiful trying to sprout through, and to please have faith and to have patience, that that beauty is going to blow your mind. A quick disclaimer here, because we are talking about obsession. This webinar is not intended to address those with diagnoses of obsessive compulsive disorder or substance addiction. And although I present tools that may be helpful to these diagnoses, I recommend those who carry them seek professional treatment. Okay. What does obsession and infatuation look like? It looks a little bit like this woman in the slide, right? It's it's really uncomfortable, quite honestly. We kind of know what this is, but let me just go through and define. So we worry excessively. There are seemingly uncontrollable thoughts and fantasies. And now I inserted that word seemingly because that's the truth. They seem to be uncontrollable. However, they are controllable. We're going to go more into that later. Rumination on our own worthiness, often accompanied by shame. Attempts to distract the self or to medicate, which are often unsuccessful. Compulsive checking, snooping, and going to extremes to get the person's attention. Anyone here ever check their man's phone? Anyone here ever look through their wallet or hack into their email? Anyone here ever stalk their Facebook wall or their Instagram? Well, you are not alone. Most of us definitely don't like to admit this stuff, but let me tell you, I am privy to the most private conversations with women, and pretty much we all do it. Hopefully, what I'm going to share with you explains a little bit about why. Why on God's green earth do we obsess? Why are we inflicted with this? That is the golden question. It feels awful. It feels annoying. I know it. We have a tendency to blame ourselves for it and to feel ashamed. So I'm going to explain a few things about this first. The material that I'm about to present to you is a combination of cutting-edge neuropsychology and my own experience. Now, some information is based on research and theory, and some is based on my own experience of what's been most useful to the hundreds of women that I've worked with in over 20 years. So for this seminar, I do take some shortcuts with the science in order to make the points as brief as possible. So let's get nerdy, girls. Are you ready? Now is the time to pull out that pen and pad of paper. I want you to take notes, and I also want you to journal your personal insights as we're going through this program. This is going to be amazing. And I really want you to be able to share this information with someone that you know, someone that you love, someone you trust when the webinar is over. Maybe you can even have them watch the webinar as well, so that you have a kind of buddy, or you have a support system as you're beginning to dig deep into these insights. And if you know me, so I'm getting a signal that for some people, there's been a freeze. So if something freezes on you, just refresh your browser, okay? Let's see if for some people, if that does the trick. So I'll just pause for a second. Yeah, okay, so that worked. Great. If this happens to you, if at any point this platform freezes, just refresh, and that usually works. Excuse me, I have a little frog in my throat tonight. Alrighty, if you know me at all, you know I have an allergy to fluff. I become very annoyed with superficial information that is out there today. I like to go deep, and I like to keep it real. So that's what we're going to do today. I hope you're up for that. Even if you're not in a place emotionally or physically where you can journal and take notes, take this information deep into your bones, because I really want you to take advantage of this experience, and I want you to give it your full attention. So if you've got other devices on, or you're washing the dishes or cooking dinner, or like multitasking, women are masters of multitasking. I really want you to honor yourself enough to stop what you're doing, sit down in front of your laptop or your tablet, and pay attention. Okay, so let's do this. Let's start with evolution. This is our fourth sister. She is a latter stage Neanderthal. Neanderthals were very much like us in their DNA and in their physical structure. Their brain was a little different. We had a slightly different shape of head and different stature in our body, but basically we're very similar. It's estimated that human DNA has not evolved for over 200,000 years. And we know that we are hardwired to be living tribally in cooperative clans or units. And now there's a very good reason for this. Humans have a very poor set of defense mechanisms. Every living species on the planet has been gifted a set of survival mechanisms in order to adapt to their environment and in order to reproduce effectively. So humans are lacking a little bit in this department. Let's look at this. We don't have fur to keep us warm. We don't have fangs. We don't have claws. We don't have fins. We don't have wings. We don't fly. We don't swim very well. We're not very fast when we run. What we have primarily is our ability to bond and to share resources. So we have evolved to be tribal creatures, and it's through the bond, through the empathic bond that we create with each other, that is our strongest asset. So the way that evolution has worked, it's sort of a reciprocity. It's a reciprocal relationship we have here, in that we've adapted to our environment and to the opportunities and resources that are around us. And as well, we've made use of those resources to the best. So we use our intelligence and we use our community primarily to survive and to reproduce effectively. Okay, so this is just, I'm laying the foundation, some basic terms here for you that we're going to be referring to later. This means, because we are tribal creatures, we run in packs or herds, that our primal fear is of alienation. And separation means death to the primitive brain. And this is especially true for women. Women are physiologically more vulnerable because we're smaller in stature and because we bear children. So I'm going to take a shortcut here and just say that women have like an extra helping of the need for belonging. Our strongest drive is for belonging. And when we start to understand how the need for belonging is commanding our behavior, we can recognize it, and so much begins to make sense about our behavior, about our choices, and about our emotions. Let's talk about yourself and belonging. And now I could use this term self interchangeably with the word ego, but ego has such a bad rap these days. And the kind of ego I'm referring to is the healthy ego. Okay, your identity. We all have a deep egoic structure that helps us to define who we are. And here's why it's important for us to define who we are. Your psychological well-being is dependent upon your sense of self because it increases your ability to affiliate with the tribe and then therefore increases your survival. When we know who we are, we know where to belong. And here I have a picture of a women's soccer team. I like to think of the self as a kind of jersey that we all wear that helps us to identify our team. So athletes wear jerseys so that they can, you know, discern and distinguish who is on their team, but also it gives them a sense of inclusion and belonging and cooperation with each other. So we have an evolutionary imperative to seek a sense of self, and our brain automatically does this for us. So the brain is constantly scanning for a sense of self to clarify, refine, and to reinforce our identity. We only need to look at social media to know that this is true. Social media, Facebook especially, is a huge kind of grounds for us to reinforce who we are and who we're friends with. So we love naturally to look at pictures of ourselves. We love to look at pictures of ourselves with other people and to see how other people react or respond to pictures of us, because it is soothing and comforting to the brain to reinforce the identity. And when our sense of self and therefore our belonging gets threatened, it becomes an emotional crisis. Let's take a little breath there. As a mild dose of evolution I just offered to you. Let's go deeper with that and talk about the negativity bias. I absolutely believe that this is a big part of what goes down with women and sex and love. Now, this is true for men also. I find it more true for women. And again, because of our physiological vulnerabilities, we just have all this stuff in extra servings. So the negativity bias has come into the cultural vernacular in the last 10 years or so. This is how it works. We are genetically programmed to give more attention to the negative than to the positive. The brain will automatically focus attention on the most threatening or confusing aspects of any situation as a way of ensuring your safety. The brain will also replay these aspects in an attempt to learn or integrate or experience, or to integrate, I'm sorry, the experience for future reference. So think of it like this. Your brain is a learning machine. It is constantly learning new information and discarding old information that is no longer necessary for reference. So the brain determines what memories are necessary based on how threatening or how intense that experience is. So imagine your brain like does a slow motion replay of the most confronting or threatening situations, because the brain wants to build a script around that situation so that it can use that script later on when you encounter that experience again. So the brain like replays stuff for you, partly because it's helping you to rehearse what might come again, or it's replaying the past to help you get better at mastering or encountering that experience. Let me give you an example, okay? Let's say that you're hungry for lunch and you're living in your tribal clan or your unit. So you leave the cave and you go into the forest and you start foraging for berries. You pick blueberries and you pick red berries. So you have both of the berries in your basket. First, you eat the blueberries, which are simply delicious and wonderful. And then you eat the red berries. And the red berries make you sick and throw up. What will you remember from lunch that day? You will remember the red berries because it's important that you do so that you don't eat the red berries again because they made you sick. So this is so true when we're dating and having sex and when we're having a love life. We tend to focus on the criticism and not the compliment. We focus on the rejection and not the approval. So if you find yourself replaying part of a conversation that was confusing or offensive to you, this is why. Nature is doing her thing. So in summary, we give the most attention to whatever threatens our safety or our sense of self. Okay. I hope this is helping to make sense of some things for you. When we know that this is an evolutionary proclivity, we can work so much more compassionately with it, and we can actually start to rewire. Unfinished mastery. This is a concept, again, I find so common in women's sex and love. So humans are mastery-focused creatures. We repeat things until we perceive them as quote unquote mastered, meaning, mastered I could define as that we feel fully expressed in our potential. Psychologically, we need to finish the task of each relationship. And these tasks of each relationship can vary. The most common task of any relationship is to feel loved and accepted for who we are. And if we don't receive love and acceptance, then the relationship is unmastered or unfinished. And when something is unmastered, it causes a little trauma or like a glitch in the nervous system. And we repeat it in an unconscious attempt to resolve it. So this unfinished mastery might be from a primary relationship in early childhood, like your mother or your father. It can also be from any relationship that you've had in your life, either a recent one or one that happened a long time ago. It could be a relationship with your landlord or with your gardener, with a teacher, with a friend. Let me give you an example of unfinished mastery. This is from my personal life. When I was 12, my oldest brother died in a car accident. And my brother and I were never close. There was a big difference in our age. And although I loved him, I never heard him say that he loved me. I never felt fully embraced as his little sister. And then he died before we ever got to achieve that closeness. And then all through my 20s, I had short-lived, tragically heartbreaking relationships. And I chose men who were not well suited for me. They were often either younger than me or they, lived in another country and we had a long distance thing going. They just weren't right for me. And through doing my personal work, right around the time that I hit 28 or 29, when we go through our Saturn return, I realized that I had been dating my brother and setting myself up to reenact his loss. And this was a way that I was unconsciously trying to master that early relationship. When I fully did grieve my brother at 29, I grieved the lost chance to be loved by him. And the pattern magically dissolved, and I simply stopped being attracted to men who were not available to me. Here are a few more comical examples of mastery in action. So if you haven't seen the movie Groundhog Day, I highly recommend it. It's a really funny film. It's, I don't know, maybe 10 years old or something, but you could definitely find it on Netflix. So in Groundhog Day, it's starring Bill Murray. He wakes up every day, and it's the same day, February 2nd. He relives this same day over and over again, and he is simply stuck in this day, and there's nothing he can do to advance the day. He tries many things. He even tries suicide. He tries alcoholism. It's really funny how extreme his attempts are. But it's only until he makes a very deep internal necessary change that he masters that day. And in his case, it had to do with the love interest, Andy McDowell. And when he fully opened his heart to her and really fully loved her, the day changed. And suddenly he wakes up and it's February 3rd. So he mastered the task of that chapter in his life, and then he advanced to the next. Another great example is the movie Ace Ventura. In Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, there's a football playing character who blunders his field goal kick, and to his great humiliation and then rejection from his team because he ruined the playoff for the team. So he lost his belonging, and therefore his sense of self was threatened, and he became obsessed with the event. You might remember, if you've seen this movie, this football player shouting the phrase again and again, "Laces out." Funny stuff. A rumination, it's an interesting thing. The brain naturally ruminates on what's unfinished as a mechanism to drive you to finish it. So all of that obsessive thinking that you might experience in your sex and love life actually has a function. It has a purpose. It's not just to drive you crazy. It's actually to drive you to finish the task. It's your mind-body system telling you that there's a glitch. Examples of unfinished mastery. So if you never felt fully loved in the relationship, if you never felt fully accepted or honored for who you are, if forgiveness is missing from the relationship, like saying you're sorry or hearing that the other person is sorry, or sometimes what's unfinished is that you never got to stand up for yourself, or you never chose to stand up for yourself, I should say, and you never fought back. Sometimes the unfinished mastery in the relationship is actually leaving the relationship, and that is the task that needs to happen, but for whatever reason, you're not able or not willing to make that move. So instead of blaming and shaming yourself for ruminating, rather, I want you to see it as an indication that something needs finishing. I personally see it as a check engine light. So when I'm ruminating on something, I just pause, I take a breath, and I ask myself, what needs to be finished here? So I'd like you to journal. What do you think so far? What's coming through? Just write down a couple of thoughts. Maybe some insights are coming. Maybe it's too soon and you need some more time to contemplate this material and really sit with it. And I want to say that that's a great idea, to really give yourself time to let this sink in. While you're doing that, I'm going to share another example of mastery. So a few years ago, before I met my beloved, I had a short-ish, like 6-month relationship with a man that, in all honesty, had no capacity to return my love. He was a traveling musician, very non-committal, A beautiful man, a great guy, but not in any way looking for partnership. And I very much wanted partnership. So we mutually ended the relationship. But at the end, he kind of ghosted me. If you know what that means, it's like he just suddenly fell out of touch. And it was like I didn't even exist to him anymore. And I felt that that was very emotionally neglectful. And that sudden drop of contact really hurt. And, I'm going to make an assumption that some of you at least have had this experience of being dropped suddenly or being ghosted. It's very painful for women. It was a terrible breakup, and we did not stay friends. Maybe another 6 months went by, and I did a lot of healing work around that. And when I was ready, I started to date again. But this time, the guy that I dated was totally different. He was stable, mature, he was communicative. We were great friends and we had a great relationship. But in the end, we had some different goals in life and we were not a complete match. So we mutually ended the relationship. And it was the most mature, loving, supportive breakup. And in fact, he's one of my dearest friends today. And looking back, I realized that it allowed me to heal the terrible breakup that I had had before. And he was so present and so loving through it that I found mastery and I could advance to the next level of my relating because I completed the impulse of a loving breakup. And after that, I met my beloved. So we do this all the time. We roll over unfinished business from relationship to relationship, and it can really cloud our availability to love and to be loved. So I hope it's a relief to know that what you may experience is perfectly normal according to your evolutionary drives. And that is your body's, just your natural inborn desire for wholeness. Here's the other thing I want you to really know, that love is addictive. You bet. I mean, it is literally addictive. And all of these strong feelings that surge through you when you have attraction, when you have relationship, and especially when you have sex, all comes down to chemistry. And now let me preface this next piece by saying, um, I really do believe that a big chasm in our consciousness is the gap between our body's physical evolution and the evolution of our culture. There's a big difference here. Our bodies simply cannot keep up with evolution at the same rate as our technology. So we are very primitive people who are sort of clothed in modern society. And we're not altogether really built to handle the capacity of information that comes at us with modern technology and modern society. And it causes a big breakdown in our nervous system. So nature is kind of operating under a different assumption than we are in modern culture. Nature assumes that you're going to potentially reproduce with every man that you have sex with, which we know is not the case now. But remember that drive for belonging, it becomes especially strong if there's a chance that we might be pregnant. So a lot of our obsession is simply to ensure that you don't wander off alone in the wild and risk the survival of your infant. It's partly why women become so vulnerable and so attached and so kind of emotionally needy after we have sex. We also become exposed to what I call the pleasure cocktail. So I made that word up, but we basically get flooded with three primary classes of neurochemicals. One is dopamine, the other is oxytocin, and the other class are opioids and endorphins. And now each of these chemicals are responsible for slightly different things in the body, although they're all kind of related and they all work really well together. They all complement each other. Dopamine is responsible for the reward center in the brain. So when you do something and it feels good, you get a hit of dopamine. basically. That's the shortcut. Oxytocin is a bonding hormone, so it's responsible for our feelings of love and for connection. And um, we experience oxytocin in a number of ways, like when we are with a lover, we feel bonded and close to him or her. We feel oxytocin when we cuddle with our pets, when we look at a beautiful flower, when we hold our child. Certainly women, especially when they're breastfeeding, are getting massive doses of oxytocin when they're doing that. Opioids and endorphins straight up are like your bliss factory. This is what is responsible for these transcendent feelings of cosmic bliss, is what I'll call it. All of these chemicals are especially released most strongly in women. It's definitely true for men as well. Women get a higher dose of all of it. And it is amplified through sexual pleasure and especially orgasm. I know a lot of women who will say that, like, yes, they can have sex with someone, but once they orgasm with him or her, that's when they really become bonded. Women actually go through chemical withdrawal when the source of that pleasure cocktail is removed. And so when the woman goes into the withdrawal phase, the brain then kind of freaks out and releases sets of hormones that elicit obsessive thinking, self-sacrificing behaviors, and extreme attention seeking that may be out of character for her. Sound familiar? So nature is just once again saying to us, like, hey, you've lost the source of this pleasure. Go back, go back to it, find it again, think about it, sacrifice yourself for it, and by all means, get the attention of that source of pleasure again. So the keys. Let's talk about the solutions. I've given you just a little primer in evolutionary neuropsychology. Let's talk about what to do. And I'm going to give you some practical, very pragmatic practices. Number one, I want you to ask yourself, what aspect of self-perception is under threat? What's being threatened here? What aspect of your self-perception, or possibly even your reputation? And now I include reputation in this question because I want to tie something in about women. We all kind of know that our reputation is important to us. We know that it's important what other people think of us. And for men, this is important as well, but in a slightly different way. Men want to be respected, women want to be adored. And because women have a stronger drive for belonging, and we have such high doses of all these pleasure bonding chemicals running through our bodies, we're driven a little bit more than men are. And this is a generalization. It's not true in every case. This is just kind of coming down to gender science here. So when your reputation is threatened, it also sends us into crisis. Examples here are unrequited love, the source of so much poetry in human history. Unrequited love threatens our sense of lovability. It threatens our beauty. It can threaten our worth and therefore our value to the tribe. When someone does not return our affections, is one of the most confronting human experiences. So I want you to strengthen your self-perception through affirmation. Now you can develop, affirmations that feel really good to you. I think, at the core of all affirmations, this is what I have found, are basically three bottom line affirmations for women. They are, I am lovable, I belong, and I am safe. And everything else is a kind of extension of those three affirmations. So if you literally talk to yourself, I know a lot of us who are conscious, we are practicing affirmation and mantra, use these. I'm lovable, I am safe, and I belong. And then secondarily, B, through recognizing that you are in fact loved by your tribe of friends and family. We're going to go a little bit more into that later, but for now, I want you to actually point attention at who loves you, and what value do you offer to your group of friends and family. We often lose sight of this during unrequited love because we're so hung up on the one who didn't love us. Remember the negativity bias? We're more hung up on the one who didn't love us than we are on the ones who do. Key number 2, what's unmastered? Ask yourself, what impulse needs to be completed either from this relationship or from an earlier one? Now, okay, let me give a caveat here. These are big questions. These are deep questions. You may or may not have an answer for this. And I don't want you to think too hard about it, actually. It's less important that we know what exactly is unmastered from what relationship, when and where, and like the details, the circumstances are not as important. So I don't want you to get like snagged on that. What is important is recognizing what feels unfinished in your body. And I got this question recently when I gave this presentation. How do I know what's unmastered? How can I tell? Like I can't figure it out. Here's the answer. Your unfinished impulses present themselves in your desire. So simply put, find some stillness, tune into what your body is wanting moment to moment. And your body intelligence is so vast, your body is so wise, it's going to start pulling unfinished impulses out of that place of stillness, out of that place of silence, and you're going to feel like finishing them. You're going to feel like jumping or running or shouting or punching or crying or collapsing, like whatever's there for you to finish. Just trust your body. It's going to finish it out. We just need to give our bodies like that space and that honoring and that attention. I personally do a lot of this work on the dance floor. Here's an example. Women who obsess on unavailable men are often trying to complete their relationship with their father. Now, this is a generalization and it's also a cliche. It's also very common. So that's why I offer to you as an example. So I want you to set up an opportunity for yourself to carry out your unfinished impulses in a safe and healing way. I want to give you another example of a client of mine recently who did this. So let's just say that her name is Jessica. Jessica was in a relationship with a man for a couple of years who she felt did not really respect her. He had a slightly abrasive personality, and she often felt criticized by him and a lot of hurt feelings on her part. And she knew that ultimately this was not the man for her and that she needed to leave the relationship. But she is such a beautiful spirit and so loving and so kind and generous and very spiritual. So she never really stood up for herself. She never really expressed her anger to this man. And they broke up. And of course, she was very gracious and very giving to him. But then before she could really move on and find the love that she wanted, she felt like she had all this unexpressed anger. So she and I went out to the beach one day, and I became a safe kind of container for her to express all of this anger out. And she screamed and she yelled and she punched the sand and she jumped up and down and she got to tell me everything that she never really told him. And this allowed her to kind of clean the slate, to clear the slate, I should say. And then she felt fully available and really ready for the love of her life. It wasn't long until he showed up. Actually, we are both amazed at how quickly it happened. She's in a great soulmate relationship and she's having a blast. Key number 3, replace the addiction with a pleasure practice. Now, I'm a huge believer in pleasure practice. I can say for sure it changed my life and it changed the lives of so many women that I've worked with. Here's the deal. Keep the pleasure cocktail coming, but from a different healthy source. If you've been getting pleasure cocktail from a lover or a boyfriend or any kind of relationship, and then suddenly it's cut off, we want to keep those chemicals flowing so you can actually pleasure yourself. And I don't mean necessarily masturbation, although I think that's a great idea. I mean real self-care, deep self-care, where you're tender to yourself, where you're, ensuring that you're getting your dose of the pleasure cocktail every day. Recognize that what you're going through is a withdrawal phase and that it will pass. I kind of look at like heartbreak, breakups, obsessions as like a bad cold. If there's just nothing you can do, you can comfort yourself, but just let it pass through. Let it do its thing. And whatever you do, do not punish or deprive yourself. When we like quit cold turkey and then we punish ourselves for feeling hung up on someone or heartbroken or obsessed, and we punish ourselves, it has counteractive effects. It does not help you to heal. When you deprive yourself of pleasure, it, like I said earlier, sends your system into withdrawal, and then it triggers this set of hormones that make you obsess even more, that make you go out of your way to get attention, etc., etc. So this is a time, if you're struggling with a relationship or with a love interest, this is a time to replenish yourself, to lavish yourself absolutely with pleasure. Here's a little bit more about that, because I'm a big believer in the power of pleasure. So pleasure releases endorphins, dopamine, and oxytocin. And now I'm going to say more about dopamine in a minute, because dopamine has been called recently the ultimate feminist chemical. Pleasure combats cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Cortisol has all kinds of negative effects in our system, in our immunity, in our brain functioning, in our memory, our concentration. It also slows down the metabolism and makes you store fat. I don't think anybody really wants that, right? Pleasure combats it. Pleasure balances women's hormones, especially estrogen. It makes us more stable in our mood. We don't have such great mood swings. And here's where dopamine comes in. So studies have shown recently that higher levels of dopamine in women actually boosts confidence. It boosts creativity, assertiveness, and decision making. Dopamine has been called the leadership drug for women. So when we have high levels of this dopamine, we basically become a badass. Let's just put it that way. And a great opportunity for you to increase your pleasure practice and keep going deeper into these fundamentals of how women develop power is in my online course. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. It's called Smart Self-Love, 6 Weeks to Power and Pleasure. So this is your chance to really dedicate yourself to the art and science of self-worth. I want you to stop settling and start living big time. This is not your typical webinar. This is a deep dive. I'm limiting attendance to this webinar to 30 women who are really, really ready to go deep and really ready to do the work. If you're ready to have the kind of sex that you gossip to your girlfriends about, if you're ready to have deep love that you crave and that inspires you to go out and conquer the world, If you're ready for confidence that makes you unshakable by anyone else's opinion, if you're ready to make the money that you deserve and money that affords you the freedom and luxury that you dream of, then this program is definitely for you. And it is chock full of amazing content, just like what I've been sharing with you today so far. And trust me, I have a pretty good sense of what impacts women and what empowers their sex and love life. Now, I've been doing this program for 2 years now, and I've done it both online and I've done it in person. So I have refined it to the most potent teachings possible. Here's what we'll be covering. Module 1, the power of pleasure. How to let pleasure turn you into a rock star and a sex goddess. Here's what I find. Even women who have a pleasure practice, who are pretty unblocked and pretty open to pleasure, I find that they're often dispersing or leaking their power. And what I want to do is teach you how to really harvest that, how to harness it and how to focus it, so that when you're in your radiance and you're in your full, juicy feminine, you get to then direct that energy like a laser beam onto what you want to grow and what you want most in your life. So that's part of this work around pleasure, is not only learning how to receive it and how to enjoy it, but how then do we use it intelligently to help us get the things we want. Module 2, the science of self-esteem, commanding your worth. We learn the science of how self-perception is developed in the female brain. And once we know this, we then know how to command it. We know how to control it. It's like a dial in your brain. This is what we're not learning in school, is that your self-esteem is at your command. And it's not just through a pep talk, it's not just through using affirmations, but it's through incorporating and integrating other techniques that actually turn up the volume of your assertiveness. Module 3, overcoming self-sabotage, how to end the war on yourself and enjoy greater confidence, money, and fulfillment. So this is where we unblock you. We get yourself out of your own way so that your channels are open, so that your body is dilated and ready for all the good things you're cultivating in your life. Module 4 is replacing shame with self-compassion, how forgiving yourself is completely necessary. I like to think of the female psyche as a garden. And of course, in our garden, we want the most juicy and succulent fruits. We want the most nourishing and nutritious vegetables, and we want the most beautiful and fragrant flowers. But if your garden is overgrown with weeds, then those weeds are going to steal resources away from the crops that you really want to grow. It's going to steal nutrients from the soil. It's going to steal sunlight. It's going to steal water. So we have to go through that garden and pull the weeds. And once we do that, we have fertile soil in which to plant the seeds of what we want most. Module 5, empowered sexuality. A woman connected to her sexual energy is an unstoppable force. Just like all that dopamine I told you about that makes us confident, that makes us assertive. When we step into mastery with our sexuality and we learn how to work with sexual energy, we become so powerful. And I'm going to teach you in this module lots of tantric exercises to learn how to charge up the pelvis, how to open the nadis or the meridians in your body. And you do not need a partner for this module. In fact, it's kind of better if you don't have a partner for this module, because I want you to work within yourself and learn how to use your sexual energy. It's like a lasso is how I think of it. Like you send this energy out into the world, you loop the things that you want, and then through the force of your radiance and your feminine energy, you pull it right into you. Does that sound fun? It is. Module 6 is relating to the masculine. So now that we've done all this juicy work to get ourselves prepared and lubricated and wet, we then learn how to skillfully navigate your connections and get what you want. So we'll talk about how to speak man speak, how to interpret his texts, how to interpret his behavior and his choices, and then how to offer communication to men in a way that honors them and does not emasculate them and gets them into a deeper level of engagement with you. What you'll get from the program. I have loaded this program up. You're getting tons of stuff. Number 1, you'll get 6 live webinar courses with interactive video taught by myself. And now in this video platform I'm using, we actually get to see each other's faces and to see each other's eyes so that there's bonding and connection that happens in our own little tribe. The videos are done live, and it's much of the neuropsychology content that I'm sharing with you today, coupled with a lot of movement and juicy, sensual, experiential stuff that we love. Number 2, you get 6 live Q&A coaching calls with me. So this is an opportunity to get laser coaching with me. It's an opportunity to get feedback from me about what's going on in your life, and an opportunity to connect and interact and engage personally with the other women in the program. You'll get a treasure chest of personal practices that support a whole new way of looking at yourself, at sex, and at love. And now these are practices, like I mentioned earlier, you will keep with you for the rest of your life, and you will refer to them constantly again and again. And now let me share this with you. A lot of women who take my courses are therapists or coaches or helping professionals. And I absolutely love when they take these practices and share them then with their clients, because it just exponentiates the work. It proliferates out into the world. And so I get this feedback a lot from therapists who say, you know, I love what you taught. I'm now teaching my clients this. I'm now using this worksheet that we did together, and it's rocking my world. 4, you'll get exclusive access to a private forum to ask questions, share stories, and to connect with other women in the course. This is really important. A lot of women who take this course say that it's the friendships that they developed during the course that are the most beneficial. Number 5, this is a typo. Actually, you get 5 bonus trainings that are worth over $500. So what I've done is I've gathered 5 of my most respected colleagues in the field, and you'll get to see who they are in a minute, and they've all stepped up to so generously offer their own trainings that you get to access just by enrolling in this course. Do you want to know how to erase the negative voices inside you and have radical confidence so that you're impervious to other people's opinion of you, including the men you date? Oh my God, wouldn't that be liberating not to be dependent on anyone else's validation of you? Do you want to know how to remove blocks to feeling the utmost pleasure possible in your body? Do you want to end the struggle in love and make sex a joyful, passionate, spiritually deep experience? Do you want to write a new love story to yourself? I really hope so. I hope your answers to all of these questions are hell yes. In order to do this, we need to clear old patterns and beliefs that prevent you from having the love that you most desire. We need real tools and education about women's psychology that you will use for a lifetime, not just a pep talk. This is not a pep talk. This is deep work. And number 3, you need community, friendship, and sisterhood to do it all. And if I may, I'd like to add a number 4 here. We need to have fun while we're doing it. My God, we need to transform in our pleasure practice. So the total value for this program is $2,266, and it includes all of the things that you're seeing here as they're priced for the curriculum of the program, for the live Q&A sessions, and then the bonuses. We have 5 key principles to sacred sexuality with Triambaka. We have Your Sacred Pussy by Amanda Young. We have 51 Ways to Keep It Hot by Lara Catone. And we have Unlocking Your Political Voice to Fully Activate Your Feminine Power by Tabby Biddle. These women are rock stars, and I'm so honored that they've contributed to this program, so you get to access all of their work as well. However, I have priced this program at $490, which I believe is a really great price for everything that you're getting, including access to me, live access to my coaching, to my support, and to my feedback. And it's a very small price to pay for a whole new way of seeing yourself and of seeing sex and love. Seeing sex and love in a way that is more holistic, that is reachable to you, that is accessible, and that ultimately gets you the sex and love that you really want. However, I have to be honest about this. This is against the advice of my team, who've told me I'm absolutely crazy. I want to offer to you for $245. And this deal is only for women who are watching this webinar right now, because I want to just sweeten it up for you. If you're watching this webinar, you get half off. And here's what I'm thinking about this, is that if you're watching this, then you are the kind of woman that I want to work with. If you're into mind-body science, if you're ready to go deep and make a change, if you're ready to have a great time and really sink into your pleasure, then you're the lady for me. So $245, you get half off the price. That is right around the corner. So it's a little bit of a rush. I need to get you into this program by Friday, May 6th. And I want to let you know, I do expect to sell out after this webinar. I have over 500 women registered to watch this webinar, and I'm limiting enrollment to this circle to 30 women. Okay, so here's where you go. powerandpleasure.org. You will get 50% off with the code READY. So I'm going to take a pause just for a minute here. And let's see, I want to find my screen share. Okay, so hopefully you can see me. Yes? Okay, good. I want to actually make this really easy for you. If you look to the right of your screen, there is a link. It says 6 weeks to power and pleasure. And it gives you a little description of the information and then a button that you can click. So when you click on this button, you will go directly to the enrollment page. You enter the coupon code that says READY, and then you're in right away. So again, you have only until Friday, May 6th to do this. I'm going to close the doors at midnight because we need to get the program started, but I want to give you the opportunity to join there. Okay, so we're going to continue with the rest of the keys. I hope that you're enjoying this. I'm going to go back to screen share, okay, so that we can see the slides. Yeah, and I would love for someone to tell me that they can see the slides, okay? Okay, and I'll just leave this up for you for a second. So in case you want to jot this down, powerandpleasure.org, or in case you want to write down the coupon code, I am going to flash it again, but here you go. Okay, awesome. So let's continue with the keys. But first, I want you to reward yourself with some pleasure right now. So maybe that is a deep breath. This is a lot of information. Maybe it's just a light massage of your neck or your shoulders. Mhm. Maybe it's an undulation of your hips, moving your body, stretching somehow. Stretching is really wonderful. Awesome. Good job. Maybe something that smells good, something that tastes good. Really just indulge yourself. Okay. Okay. While you are pleasuring yourself, I am going to get us back into the slides. So just give me one moment. Okay. All righty here. That wasn't it. So I'm going to keep pleasuring yourself, keep going, even if that is just, so I'm looking at another screen here to see what we have going on. Technology. Yeah, this happened last time as well. So anyway, um, we can never get too much pleasure, let me tell you that. Okay, give me one more chance to get on to the correct screen with you. Hmm, what does this do? Oh, that doesn't do it either. Hmm. What I'd love for you to do while I'm dialing this in is to journal. If you could make a few notes about the kinds of things that bring you pleasure. What lights you up? What delights you? For me, it's often fragrance. I love a beautiful smell, a natural smell of a flower. I love jasmine. I love roses. For me, it's also flavor. I love chocolate. Who doesn't love chocolate? And I love massage. So that's been something I've added to my weekly pleasure practice is to get massages. Okay, let's see if this works. I'm looking at another screen to see what comes up. Okay, I'm just going to keep going because I really want to get you these keys. Okay, so although this might not be the full screen, yeah, might not be the full screen, so just bear with me here. Oops. Key number 4, what's the avoidance? Obsession and fixation are often rooted in the need to escape. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the obsession allowing me to avoid? What in your life feels intolerable? And what are you not willing to face? I'm going to give you an example here. I worked with a woman recently, we'll call her Jenny. Now, Jenny was in a short relationship, a lovership with a man, and they broke up, and she found herself absolutely stalking his Instagram. And it kind of didn't make sense to us because the relationship was not really that big of a deal. It wasn't that deep or it wasn't that long. But when we got to the core of what was going on for her, what we found is that she was having some other existential life issues that were coming up. She was 41. She very much wanted to have a child, and she felt like her time was running out. And so she found herself escaping into this man's Instagram. And it wasn't until we really confronted those issues in her, that the obsession dissipated. So it relieved and it lifted when she began to face exactly what she needed to face. Key number 5 is to spend time with family and with friends. And now this works not only to bring you comfort, but it works to bring you a sense of belonging. Isolation, shame, and secrecy are fuel on the fire of obsession. So, by all means, break your isolation and get into contact with those you love. Share the secret. If you're tweaking on a guy and you can't get him out of your mind, share it. It dispels the shame. When you go into shame around an obsession, it just makes the obsession even greater and it makes the shame even greater. It's like a no-win situation. So get your friends on board with you. And I find with women, the more that we disclose to our friends and to our family, the closer that we feel to them. And then it engenders more support for you. And then lastly, I really want you to share physical closeness, like touch, hugs, and massage and body work, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, is a great idea. So meet Sarah. Here, I'm going to get rid of this. That's better, huh? Sarah came to me. She is such a beautiful being. She came to me a couple of years ago. She was in a relationship that she knew just was not serving her, and she felt like the man she was with wasn't always exactly kind to her, wasn't honoring of her. And she enrolled in my Smart Self-Love programs. I think she took 2 or 3 of the programs. And here she writes, Eva's class will blow your mind, literally. The science she teaches will give you the tools to gently rewire the way you think of yourself. It helped me to finally leave a dead-end relationship and start dating again in an empowered and totally pleasurable way. The process is intelligent, deep, joyful, and fun. You're going to love it. So thank you, Sarah. I'm so honored she was offering that to you. So key number 6, love yourself. This is a picture of me to the right, just as I had entered my pleasure practice and my self-love practice that really shifted everything for me. And now I want to say that, self-love has entered the cultural conversation in the last few years, and nothing makes me happier than that. And it might seem basic or remedial or obvious, but let me tell you, I am a pretty smart cookie. I've been, a psychotherapist for 20 years and a scholar on women's psychology. And I thought that I understood all of this stuff. And I didn't, I really didn't. There's just so much more research and information and experience to weave through this concept than I could have ever imagined. And as smart as I am and successful, and I think I'm, pretty psychologically healthy comparatively, I didn't get it. I wasn't getting this. I was just working myself to death. So I want you to know there is nothing wrong with you. When you love and accept yourself, regardless of the obsession and whatever you've done because of it, understand that it comes from a deeper need to feel safe, accepted, and loved. Loving yourself satisfies the drive for belonging so that you no longer need it or you need it less from other people. And it relaxes the nervous system and releases contraction, creating an opening for insight to arrive. Now, one of the most interesting things about self-love that I have learned is that when we're not loving to ourselves, when we're critical of ourselves, when we're judgmental of ourselves, it actually closes the nervous system because we begin to see ourselves as an enemy. It's kind of like I just am making this up right now. It's like an autoimmune disorder where your immune system begins to attack itself. That's what we do when we're not in self-love. And so when we move into this daily practice of self-love, insights arrive. We adopt a kind of like psychic capacity because we can see things more clearly. We're more open, we're loose, we're available. ultimately, we're more in our feminine. So I really encourage you, whatever your practice is now, to add self-love to it deeply. This is a picture of a women's group I recently hosted. This was an in-person version of Smart Self-Love. And as you can see, these are all the graduates. They're very happy women, and they come from all walks of life, all shapes and sizes, and a very diverse age range, which I think is just absolutely awesome to have in a women's group, to have so much range there. It was really joyful. This is another picture of an advanced level graduate group of Smart Self-Love, Power, and Pleasure. And here we are dancing. And as you can see, we're also having a really great time. We do a lot of work in our bodies and a lot of work with movement. So you might be thinking, gosh, I don't have the money. And I want to say about that, this is the absolute lowest price I have ever offered this program, especially with the discount that you're getting, which is half off. And $245 is really not a lot to spend on the kind of transformation that I'm offering here. In fact, I charge way more than that for a single session of working one-on-one with me. So this is a great opportunity to get this information and to get time with me so that we can really do your deep transformation and get you kicking in your life. You might be thinking, I don't have the time or the bandwidth. I don't have the focus. This is probably even more than the money thing is what I hear women saying. I don't have time. We are all so busy. And sweetheart, I want you to make the time for yourself. If you want the sex and love that you dream of, if you want a better quality of relationships, you will need to put your time into it. I work with a lot of women who expect it to fall out of the sky. They want their Prince Charming, they want their soulmate, and they want him to appear, and they feel frustrated and impatient. And I say, but you've got to make this space for this work. You've got to create the time. And if it's important to you and you're ready for a shift, you will make it. If you're thinking webinars don't work for me, I want you, again, to know this is not a typical webinar. It's not where like you're just going to randomly watch the videos whenever you're ready or whenever you have time and then follow along like on a worksheet or something. It's not like that. This is a deep process and we're all in it together. And if you're thinking, I can just keep doing what I'm doing, I want you to really pause and ask yourself, am I getting what I want? If you keep doing what you're doing, you will keep getting what you're getting. And if that strategy is working for you, then I would question why you're here today. If you're here today, it tells me that something in your soul is ready to make a change. Ah, Mama Gina, it's one of my favorite ladies. A woman in love with herself is a rare and intoxicating sight. This is so true. We are magnetized to women who embody self-love. They're radiant, they're irresistible. And I want this for you as well. Because life is too short to be deprived of the sex, love, and power that you deserve. Isn't it time that you take action and make a change? I really, really hope to be able to be on this journey together. There is no way that you will not be transformed by saying yes to this and taking the leap. I really want to walk with you on this and support you all the way. So I really encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to get 50% off and go to powerandpleasure.org and enter the coupon code READY, and you will get your discount. So I am going to come back to you so that I can see you. You can see me. Hi, everybody. It has been such an absolute honor and a blast to bring this to you today. I know that you're going to be integrating all of this information for a while. It might take a couple of days, and I would love to hear from you. If you're registered on this webinar, then you're going to be getting an email from me. If you have any questions that you feel were unanswered, I will provide a forum for you to offer any comments or questions or stories. I love to hear your stories as well. And I hope that this has served you, and I definitely hope that you take advantage of the great bonus I'm offering and that you join us for this deep and juicy experience with smart self-love, power, and pleasure for women. So to close, whew, that's a mouthful. I feel like I need to dance. Like this. A little music on.
Don't have to be beautiful.
Wherever you are, dance it out, girl.
Just need your body, baby.
And I hope to see you soon. Keep in touch with me, okay?
Don't need experience. The time I spent